Okay, then. So looking at task two in the assignment, in the OPM assignment SQA. Make this a bit bigger. All right. So what are the details of it? The details of task two, the first part of the question, just a reminder again that we would have separated the questions into parts. Um, we would have broken down the questions, sorry, or the question itself into pieces. So question focus, the first part, within the chosen organization, the impact of productivity and workflow on the organization's competitiveness must be discussed. Again, within the organization, the impact of productivity and workflow on the organization must be discussed. So what is this about? So remember in the earlies we were talking about workflow and um, and um, and we were talking about workflow and process design and so on. So workflow really relates to how things are done, So the impact of productivity for any firm will surely have an impact on competitiveness, right? This should be discussed in the context of the firm. So let me deal with one piece at a time. So in terms of productivity, productivity can increase profit. Productivity can also decrease profit if the productivity is on the lower end. So if you're not getting your goods and services in time, then it will affect productivity, right? So you'll have a negative outcome. So talk about how productivity would have influenced your organization. Um, you can talk about it on the positive side or the negative side. How productivity would have influenced your company, right? Talk about that. Also, talk about talk about what talk about workflow as well, right? So workflow or process flow. What impact did workflow or process flow have on your company's product competitiveness, right? So, for example, a university college workflow has an impact there. So, if a university college invested in a CRM platform, sorry, that can increase um, workflow or increase process design in terms of in terms of a customer applying to the university, right? So if a customer applies to the university, the whole process will happen faster because of the digital nature of these platforms, right? Yeah. So I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. So as for workflow, and it can apply in manufacturing as well, or in a fast food outlet, workflow is important. We saw in the movie, The Founder, with the McDonald's example, right? So that changed the game, right? So that is one example where we saw workflow revolutionizing the way um, um, a fast food outlet should operate, should function, and it would have led to the company increasing sales and profits, right? Exponentially in a great way, right? So that is one part, the first part. The other part is this. The other part is this. Um, you must also conduct a critical evaluation of the way in which key operation strategies of the organization contribute to the business strategies of the enterprise. So first thing you should do is define what an operation strategy might be good might be a good start. Sorry. So defining what is an operation strategy. That will be a good start. You may then move on to describing the operation strategy of the organization. So what is an operation strategy? I think I would have said in the past that an operation strategy is really a series of actions taken by the organization to get to a particular point. It's a series of actions. The series of actions might involve um, um, increasing your internal resources, like acquiring more pilots, acquiring more cabin crew, acquiring some new technology, things like that, improving on quality, etc. Um, you know, you know. So maybe let me see if I can give a better example. which I've given before. So let's say an organization wants to target a particular market, they want to break into a particular market, let's say an airline, all right, or a development or a maybe a construction company or something like that. Then they will, to do that from the operations perspective, they are having asked many questions. They will then ensure that resources are allocated to that long-term strategy. So let's say an airline, you will have the resources in terms of more planes, more cabin crew, etc., will be allocated to that strategy, that long-term strategy, right? So that's the operations agenda, putting things in place, right? Right. So the operation strategy would be to mobilize and to ensure that resources are allocated within the specific region for us to meet our long-term objective, right? In terms of an airline, I gave that airline example a couple of times. No, so that's something you should do. So you might be saying that, I don't know the operation strategy of my company, but what I need to do is observe what your company is doing. What is your company doing? What series of actions are being taken, right? And that could give you an idea of what is happening. Um, we move on to the other part. Other question focus. With supply chains playing a key role in many operations, you must, through research, right? So secondary research, describe how a supply chain network design. So a supply chain network is a very complex supply chain, was developed to align with or to contribute to the overall business strategy within the organization chosen or any other. Note well, if your company does not have a visible or active supply chain, you can discuss this part only using another company, right? So for this part of the question, you can feel free to use another company as an example, because the whole objective is this, though. The whole objective is to talk about the influence of a supply chain network, or the influence of a strategy on a supply chain network, right? So every supply chain network was influenced by the strategy. Yeah, right. So case in point, it's not by guess a supply chain network may have an assembly plant in Germany or in Russia or in New Zealand. It's not by guess. It's not that by guess that Starbucks will have processing plants in different parts of the world. That is done to complement their strategy. So the strategy of these organizations, let's say Starbucks strategy is to let's say one of their strategies would be to improve on quality, or have the best coffee available on the market. Then to do that, they will have to source coffee beans from certain regions, from certain countries, right? So again, it shouldn't be surprising that Boeing or Airbus or whatever the company is sourcing from different parts of the world. Sometimes they do it to reduce costs, they do it to tap into the best quality, all right? They do it to for logistical reasons too, right? Testing 1 2 3, testing 1 2 3. I hope you got me on that one. All right. So I have a little note here. Defining supply chain management should be considered. You can do that at the start. And the last part of question 2, the focus is examples must also be discussed where the organization would have implemented the necessary performance indicators to ensure that monitoring, control, and continuous improvement within its operations become standard best practice. So how do you do that? I'm saying here some research in the way the firm monitors its performance is required. So how does your company, Andrew or whoever, how does your company monitor its performance? That's something you should ask yourself. All right. How does the organization ensure that they are on the right track? What are they doing? So what are their plans for improving, and also what are their plans for improving the current operation? So tell us how your organization is monitoring their performance. It might be customer feedback, for example. All right. It might be benchmarking. You can also recommend areas that they can explore to do this. All right. In the event that they might be lacking in these areas. Right. So that's what this question, that's what the last part of the question is about. Testing one, two, three, testing one, two, three. That's it. Coming to you now to get your feedback.